I never expected the twists life would take. 7 years ago, I was just Aiden Thompson, a regular college guy with dreams. Then came Jessica Walsh, who seemed like my forever person until she destroyed everything with false accusations. She ran off with my friend Kyle, while I picked up the pieces of my shattered reputation. Now she's back completely unaware that the successful man she's trying to impress is the same one she left broken. Before I reveal what happened when I played along with my ex who destroyed my life, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, and hit subscribe if you want more stories about justice served cold. Growing up in Seattle with hardworking parents shaped my outlook on life. My dad ran a small hardware store, while my mom taught elementary school, instilling in me the values of honesty and perseverance from an early age. I was never the cool kid, more of a tech nerd who spent weekends building computers rather than attending parties. By high school, I knew I wanted to study computer science and eventually start my own tech company. When I started at the University of Washington, I was focused entirely on my studies. That changed during sophomore year when I met Jessica Walsh in an economics class we both took as an elective. She walked in late on the third day, apologizing to the professor with a charming smile that seemed to melt his irritation. The only seat left was next to mine. Her perfume, something expensive with notes of vanilla, caught my attention before she even sat down. "Mind if I look at your notes?" she whispered, leaning close. I nodded, suddenly aware of my messy handwriting. That simple interaction sparked something unexpected. After class, Jessica surprised me by suggesting coffee. At the campus cafe, our conversation flowed naturally, covering everything from childhood memories to future aspirations. She was studying marketing and came from a wealthy Connecticut family, a world apart from my middle-class upbringing. Despite our differences, we connected over our ambitious dreams and similar values. Within weeks, we were officially dating. Jessica introduced a vibrancy to my life that had been missing. She convinced me to attend social events I would have normally avoided, while I introduced her to science fiction movies and late-night coding sessions. We balanced each other perfectly. The first 6 months were blissful. We studied together at the library, spent weekends exploring Seattle, and shared intimate conversations about our hopes for the future. I met her roommates, Madison and Tara, who seemed to approve of our relationship. Tara especially became a constant presence, often joined by her boyfriend Kyle. The four of us would hang out regularly, though I always felt slightly out of place in their affluent circle. Jessica never made me feel inadequate about my financial background, but little comments from her friends highlighted the disparity. When they discussed ski trips to Aspen or summer homes in the Hamptons, I had nothing to contribute. Kyle, with his tailored clothes and BMW, embodied everything. I wasn't social, wealthy, and effortlessly confident. Still, he was friendly enough, often offering advice on how I could upgrade my style or network more effectively. Despite these insecurities, Jessica and I grew closer. During our junior year, she helped me secure an internship at a tech startup where her uncle was an investor. This opportunity meant everything to me, a stepping stone toward my career goals. When she accompanied me to the interview dressed impeccably and offering tips on professional etiquette, I felt incredibly lucky to have her in my corner. That Thanksgiving, I invited Jessica to meet my family. I was nervous about her reaction to our modest home, but she charmed my parents with thoughtful gifts and genuine interest in their lives. Seeing her help my mom in the kitchen, while chatting about family recipes, I knew I wanted to spend my life with her. I began saving for an engagement ring, putting aside a portion of my internship earnings each month. Looking back, I realize I misread so many signs. The way Kyle would place his hand on Jessica's lower back a second too long. The inside jokes they shared that excluded everyone else. The sudden silence when I entered rooms where they were talking. But love is often blind, especially when you believe you have found your perfect match. The shift happened gradually. Jessica started spending more evenings with her friends, claiming study sessions or girls' nights. Our daily calls became less frequent, with texts replacing our usual lengthy conversations. When we were together, She was often distracted, checking her phone constantly. One night while Jessica was in the shower, her phone kept buzzing with notifications. I never meant to snoop, but when I glanced over, I saw Kyle's name repeatedly lighting up the screen. Something about their planned weekend made my stomach twist with unease. When I casually mentioned it later, Jessica became defensive. "Are you checking up on me now?" That is seriously controlling, Aiden. Her tone made me back down, immediately apologizing for overstepping. The following weekend, Jessica's sorority hosted a party. I arrived late due to a study group searching the crowded rooms for her familiar face. When I finally spotted her, she was in a corner with Kyle, his arm draped casually over her shoulder. Tara was nowhere to be seen. They were laughing, standing closer than friends typically would. When Jessica noticed me watching, she quickly stepped away from Kyle, greeting me with an exaggerated kiss that felt more like a performance than affection. "Where is Tara?" I asked Kyle, trying to keep my voice casual. "Family emergency back home," he replied smoothly. "She left yesterday." Later that night, I tried discussing what I had seen. "You and Kyle seemed pretty close tonight. Is everything okay between you two?" Jessica's expression hardened. "What are you implying?" "He is my friend, and his girlfriend is one of my best friends. You are being paranoid, and honestly, it is unattractive." I apologized again, doubting my own perceptions. Maybe I was overreacting, letting insecurities cloud my judgment. But the uneasy feeling persisted. 2 weeks later, I stopped by Jessica's apartment, unannounced, hoping to surprise her with takeout from her favorite Thai restaurant. Her roommate Madison let me in, mentioning Jessica was studying in her room. The door was partially open, and I could hear her laughing. Not wanting to interrupt, I waited, overhearing a conversation that confirmed my worst fears. "I cannot keep this up much longer," Jessica was saying, presumably on the phone. "Aiden is getting suspicious." "No, I know we agreed on the timeline. The New York plans are still on, but we need to be careful. I know you miss me too, Kyle." My hands went numb. The takeout bag dropped to the floor. When I pushed the door open, Jessica's face registered shock, then quickly morphed into indignation. "You were eavesdropping." See, this is exactly the controlling behavior I was talking about. I showed her the food, explaining my innocent intentions. "Jessica, I heard everything. Are you and Kyle?" "This is ridiculous. You are twisting things because of your insecurities." She stood up, crossing her arms defensively. "Maybe we need some space if you cannot trust me." The next day, I decided to confront the situation directly. I accessed Jessica's laptop while she was in class, something I had never done before and would never do again. What I found devastated me. Months of messages between her and Kyle, planning their future together in New York after graduation. Discussions about how to end things with me and Tara without damaging their reputations. Kyle had even secured a job at a prestigious marketing firm there, pulling strings to create a position for Jessica too. When Jessica returned and found me with her laptop open to their conversations, her strategy shifted dramatically. Instead of denying everything, she went on the offensive. She ran out of the apartment, and within hours my phone exploded with angry messages from her friends. According to Jessica, I had been emotionally abusive throughout our relationship, controlling and manipulating her. The laptop incident was framed as an invasion of privacy that proved her point. The accusations spread across campus with frightening speed. Overnight, I became a pariah. Friends stopped returning my calls. Professors who had once praised my work now viewed me with thinly veiled contempt. The internship Jessica had helped me secure suddenly rescinded their offer, citing character concerns. The scholarship committee requested a meeting to review my standing. Through mutual acquaintances, I learned that Jessica had told everyone she feared for her safety around me. She claimed I had monitored her communications, isolated her from friends, and exhibited jealous rage on multiple occasions. None of it was true, but in the court of public opinion, I had already been convicted. The final blow came when I discovered Jessica and Kyle had expedited their New York plans. They would be leaving at the end of the semester, both having secured early graduation by taking additional credits. Jessica continued playing the victim, accepting sympathy and support from everyone around her while preparing to start her new life. In a last desperate attempt to clear my name, I approached Jessica after a class we shared. The hallway was crowded enough to feel safe for her, but private enough for a real conversation. "Why are you doing this? You know none of it is true," I pleaded. She looked at me with cold eyes I did not recognize. "No one would believe you anyway. Look around, Aiden. Everyone thinks you are the bad guy here. Besides, by next month, Kyle and I will be gone, and you will just be a story I tell sometimes." She actually smiled then. Not the warm smile I had fallen in love with, but something cruel and unfamiliar. "Maybe you should have been born rich like Kyle. Then I might have picked you." That conversation haunted me for years. The casual cruelty, the complete absence of remorse. As promised, Jessica and Kyle left campus 2 weeks later, leaving me to deal with the wreckage of my reputation and the investigation into my scholarship status. The following months were the darkest of my life. I seriously considered dropping out, unable to face the whispers and stares that followed me across campus. My grades slipped. I stopped attending social events entirely. My parents noticed something was wrong during our video calls, but I could not bring myself to explain how thoroughly I had been deceived and destroyed. The turning point came from an unexpected source. Professor Anderson, who taught advanced programming, called me into his office after I missed several classes. "I have known you for almost 3 years. Aiden," he said, studying me over his glasses. "The person described in these rumors does not match the student I know. Want to tell me what is really going on?" For the first time, someone was willing to listen to my side. I broke down, sharing everything from meeting Jessica to her final cruel words. Professor Anderson listened without judgment, then offered practical advice. "You have 2 choices," he said. "Let this define you, or use it as fuel to become someone stronger." With his encouragement, I began seeing a campus therapist who specialized in trauma and betrayal. Those weekly sessions helped me process my anger and rebuild my sense of self-worth. The therapist helped me understand that Jessica's actions reflected her character, not my value. At the end of the semester, I made the difficult decision to transfer to Stanford. Professor Anderson had connections there and wrote me a glowing recommendation. Moving to California meant leaving behind the few supporters I had, but it also offered a fresh start away from the shadow of Jessica's accusations. The physical distance helped me heal. I poured my energy into reinventing myself. The lanky, somewhat awkward computer science major transformed into someone new. I joined the campus gym, shedding 30 pounds of stress weight and building muscle. I grew a beard, updated my wardrobe, and even changed my hairstyle. By graduation, former classmates might have passed me on the street without recognition. The internal changes were even more significant. Therapy taught me to trust my instincts again and to establish healthy boundaries. I became more discerning about friendships, surrounding myself with people who valued authenticity and loyalty. My academic performance soared, attracting attention from professors and tech industry recruiters alike. During my final year at Stanford, I developed an app that helped users detect and respond to online defamation. The project was personal, inspired by my experience, but it also filled a growing market need. After graduation, I secured seed funding from a venture capital firm, impressed by both the concept and my passion for the problem it solved. Within 3 years, my startup Truth Shield had grown from a one-man operation in my apartment to a 30-person company with offices in San Francisco. We expanded beyond the initial app to offer comprehensive reputation management services, partnering with lawyers specializing in defamation cases. Magazine profiles described me as an innovator addressing the dark side of digital life. None mentioned the personal history that had inspired my business. My professional success far outpaced my personal life. I dated occasionally, but struggled to open up completely. The relationships never progressed beyond a few months, ending when partners sensed my hesitation to fully trust. My therapist helped me recognize this pattern, but knowing the problem did not automatically solve it. 4 years after leaving Washington, I unexpectedly ran into Tara. at a tech conference in Chicago. I almost did not recognize her, but she immediately knew me despite my changed appearance. Aiden. Oh my God, it is really you. She approached cautiously as if unsure of my reaction. Over coffee, she shared her side of the story. She had believed Jessica's accusations initially, but grew suspicious when Jessica and Kyle announced their relationship just weeks after both had ended their previous relationships. Eventually, she discovered evidence of their affair, predating their public coupling. I should have questioned things more. Tara said, genuine regret in her eyes. By the time I realized what had really happened, you were gone. She told me that Jessica and Kyle's relationship had imploded spectacularly after 2 years in New York. Kyle had cheated on Jessica, with a coworker leaving her in the same position she had put me and Tara in. According to mutual friends, Jessica had struggled professionally as well, her reputation tarnished by the dramatic personal fallout. I thanked Tara for telling me, but assured her that chapter of my life was closed. Walking away from that conversation, I realized I truly meant it. The news of Jessica's reversal of fortune did not bring the satisfaction I might once have expected. I had built something meaningful from the ashes of that betrayal, and that was victory enough. 5 years after my conversation with Tara Truthshield, had become an industry leader in online reputation management. I was scheduled to deliver a keynote address at the Digital Ethics Conference in Boston discussing the intersection of free speech and protection from defamation. As I scanned the audience from backstage, a familiar face in the third row stopped me cold. Jessica Walsh was sitting there, reviewing the conference program. She looked different. Slight changes to her hair and style, but instantly recognizable to me. I considered backing out of the presentation, having someone else deliver it, but decided against running. I had earned my place on that stage. Throughout my speech, I noticed Jessica watching intently, occasionally nodding at points I made. She showed no sign of recognition, which confirmed what I had suspected: my transformation had been complete enough to render me unrecognizable to someone who once claimed to love me. After the presentation, attendees gathered for networking. I was speaking with a group of industry colleagues when Jessica approached. That was an impressive talk, she said, extending her hand. Jessica Walsh, Horizon Marketing Associates. Your perspective on reputation recovery strategies is fascinating. I shook her hand, experiencing a surreal moment as she introduced herself to me as a stranger. My first impulse was to confront her to see the recognition and shock spread across her face. Instead, something made me hesitate. Adam Thompson, I replied, using the slight variation of my name that some business publications had mistakenly printed. Thanks for the kind words. I would love to discuss potential collaboration, she continued, handing me her business card. Our clients often need exactly the kind of services your company provides. She had no idea who I was. The realization gave me an unexpected advantage, a chance to understand who Jessica had become without the shield of performance she would undoubtedly raise if she knew my identity. Sure, I responded casually. Let me know when you are free for a meeting. That evening in my hotel room, I researched Jessica's current situation. Horizon Marketing was a small firm struggling to establish itself according to industry reports. Her LinkedIn profile showed a series of positions with decreasing prestige since her New York days. A deeper dive revealed financial difficulties and a reputation for overpromising to clients. 2 days later, we met for coffee. Jessica was clearly in professional mode, pitching partnership ideas that would primarily benefit her struggling company. Throughout our conversation, she flirted subtly, touching my arm for emphasis and maintaining extended eye contact. The irony was painful. I was now exactly the kind of successful man she had left me for while she was fighting to rebuild what she had lost. Your journey to success must have been interesting, she probed. Stanford MBA, right? Family money to start the business. Neither, actually. I replied truthfully. University of Washington. Undergrad, then Stanford for computer science. Built the company from scratch with venture funding. A flash of something crossed her face. Washington. I went there too. When did you graduate? I transferred in my final year, I said vaguely. Needed a change of scenery. Over the following weeks, Jessica pursued both business opportunities and personal connection with determination. She suggested dinner meetings at expensive restaurants, always finding reasons for follow-up discussions. I maintained professional distance while gathering more information about her current circumstances. The ethical implications of my deception troubled me. During a session with my therapist, who had continued to counsel me remotely over the years, I expressed my conflicted feelings. You are at a crossroads, he observed. This could be an opportunity for closure, or it could reopen old wounds. What outcome would represent healing for you? His question made me realize I did not want revenge. The hurt young man, who might have craved, that had grown into someone different. But I did want acknowledgement of the truth, something Jessica had never provided. After careful consideration, I decided on a path forward. I invited Jessica to dinner at Menton, one of Boston's finest restaurants. When she arrived looking exceptionally polished, I had already ordered champagne. Celebrating something, she asked, settling into her chair. A moment of truth, I replied, enigmatically. Throughout dinner, I guided our conversation toward personal history. Jessica spoke of career challenges and relationship disappointments, painting herself as someone who had faced unfair setbacks. When I asked about significant past relationships, she hesitated. One serious relationship in college, she finally admitted. It ended badly. He was controlling, jealous. I had to get away. That sounds difficult. I responded neutrally. Sometimes people show their true colors over time. She nodded emphatically. Exactly. You think you know someone, then they reveal who they really are. After dessert arrived, I placed a small USB drive on the table between us. Jessica, I have something to share with you. She looked confused. Work files. I did not bring my laptop. Not work files. Evidence that Horizon Marketing has been falsifying client results and testimonials. I kept my voice calm, factual. Also documentation of your involvement in this practice. Her face drained of color. What are you talking about? Who are you? Someone who learned the importance of truth the hard way. I pulled out my old student ID from Washington, sliding it across the table. Hello, Jessica. It has been a while. The shock on her face was absolute. She stared at the ID then, at my face recognition finally dawning. Aiden, this is not possible. 7 years is a long time. People change. Her expression cycled rapidly, through disbelief, fear, and calculation. This is some kind of revenge setup. You fabricated evidence to trap me. Nothing is fabricated. Just like your accusations against me weren't fabricated, I raised an eyebrow. Unlike you, I deal in documented facts. Jessica attempted several strategies in quick succession: denial, minimization, tearful apologies. When none worked, she finally dropped the act. What do you want from me? She asked flatly. 2 things. First, a public retraction of the false accusations you made against me. Second, you need to make things right with your clients. No legal charges, no public exposure of your business practices if you do both. You would ruin my career over something that happened when we were kids. I am offering you the second chance nobody gave me, I replied. The choice is yours. After a long silence, Jessica agreed to my terms. Over the following week, she issued a public statement on social media, acknowledging that her accusations had been false, motivated by her own guilt over betraying me. She also worked with my team to correct the misleading information provided to her clients. The university reached out to me after Jessica's statement went viral in our old social circles. They offered a formal apology and established a scholarship fund in my name for students affected by false accusations, an ironic but meaningful gesture. When Jessica and I met for the final time, there was no romantic reconciliation, no dramatic forgiveness scene. Instead, there was something more valuable: acceptance of the truth and a mutual release from the past. "I am not proud of who I was then," Jessica said, unable to meet my eyes. "Neither of us is the same person," I acknowledged. "That might be the only good thing to come from all this." We parted ways, unlikely to ever speak again. As I watched her walk away, I felt the last weight of that old betrayal finally lift from my shoulders. I had faced my past without being consumed by bitterness or the desire for revenge. That was its own kind of victory. 1 year has passed since that dinner with Jessica. Truth Shield continues to grow recently, launching an educational platform to help young people understand the lasting impact of online actions. My team has expanded to 50 people across 3 offices, and we just secured a major contract with a tech conglomerate concerned about protecting their employees from digital harassment. Jessica, I heard, moved to Chicago and started over in content marketing. She has been open about her past mistakes in professional settings, which has paradoxically helped her rebuild trust with new clients. We have not communicated since our final meeting, and I doubt we ever will again. The most unexpected development in my life has been meeting Amanda, a cybersecurity expert who consulted on one of our projects. Unlike previous relationships, where I kept emotional walls firmly in place, I have found myself able to share my complete history with her. Her response, "Thank you for trusting me with that," marked a turning point in my ability to form deep connections again. Looking back on everything that happened, I realized that the greatest injury Jessica inflicted was not the false accusations or social isolation, but the theft of my ability to trust. Reclaiming that capacity has been my longest and most important journey. The path from victim to survivor to thriver is rarely straightforward. There were days when bitterness threatened to define me, when the temptation to use my success as a weapon against those who had hurt me seemed overwhelming. Choosing a different response required constant recommitment to my own integrity. What I have learned is that true justice is not found in making others suffer as you have suffered. It comes from refusing to let pain transform you into someone unrecognizable to yourself. It comes from building something meaningful from your experiences, even the painful ones. I sometimes wonder what would have happened if I had confronted Jessica immediately at that conference, demanding acknowledgement before witnesses. The momentary satisfaction might have been intense, but ultimately empty. By taking the path I chose, both of us had the opportunity to reckon honestly with our choices. The question I would ask you is this: have you ever been in a situation where you had the power to exact revenge, but chose a different path? What did that choice reveal about who you really are? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe for more reflections on life's challenging moments. Share this with someone who might need to hear that healing is possible, even after profound betrayal. Thank you for listening to my story. And remember that sometimes the greatest victory is not in defeating others, but in refusing to be defeated by your own worst impulses.